Welcome to Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Big news this morning. Nigel Ruben Amorim sacked from his position as manager or head coach. We never quite got to the bottom of that yesterday. And I was going to ask when we got to the Burnley Man United game, Nigel, look, was that his Maresca moment at Ellen Road in the press conference after the match? Obviously it was, because he's been sacked this morning. What do you make of all this? And is it a positive, do you think, from a betting slant for United bettors moving forward? Can we get more of an easier handle on them?
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I think that we have to concentrate from a betting angle, and I think that only is a positive for Manchester United rather than negative. I'm watching a lot of TV channels over here giving the news, and every fan that's come on, hasn't been one fan that's come on and said, I'm really gutted about the news. So that shows you that it's a massive positive for Manchester United. So that would implicate that Manchester United will be bet ahead of this match against Burnley tonight. And I think that's our main perspective in terms of like managers being sacked. When you say those kind of things, it doesn't matter what walk of life you're in. If you start doing those kind of things against your management and your bosses who pay your wages, you are going to be in trouble. Maresca did it. I think Maresca was in a much better bargaining position than Amorim. Amorim's results have been really poor, and he come out and he spoke as though he's won the title for the last 3 years. I think once you do that, then you are in trouble. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm just hoping now that people have watched this, and there's a few people who contribute to Because We Win might do the same on social media, so it gives me a little bit of an easier target. No, I'm only messing about with that. But what I'm saying is here is I think he wanted it. I think he wanted out. And that could be the only reason why he said it, and the pressure got to him, and he said he didn't fancy the job, knew he couldn't get his way, and thought to himself, you know what, I can say the wrong things here, get paid out of my contract and move on. And that's exactly what he did. But from a betting point of view, I think it's a good thing for Manchester United.
Yeah, Premier League record, Jack, was poor. If you bet the opposition when they played United since he rocked up, which was that game against Ipswich, of course, last year or year before now, you beat over 8 units. So, I mean, it's never quite worked. And every single week, it's like, what we're going to get from a betting point of view. I don't think we've ever had a money line bet on United or anything like that since he was in charge, or have we? I don't know. What do you make of it all?
We did. Famously against Everton.
Oh, when we did.
How could you forget? We struggled, haven't we, with Manchester United over the last, ever since he's been there, probably beyond that as well. It's just been so tough to try and get any consistency there. You fancy that they're in a bad rut, and then they'll pull a good performance out of the bag, and then they have a little bit of confidence, and then they just completely lose it. So whatever we've done, we've seemingly gone wrong with them. So yes, it can hopefully we'll get some consistency going, and that will help us as we look to try and unravel the puzzle that is Manchester United. Be interesting to see, obviously, who comes in next now. Will they go with a safe pair of hands, or revisit maybe an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, or maybe a Michael Carrick, who've both done a kind of interim job over the past and were successful in that role as well?
Look, we may as well just cover off Burnley, Manchester United, Nigel, right at the top of the show. We know the big game is Arsenal-Liverpool, but United have been bet a little bit. They're minus 148 to win away at Burnley. I mean, my sort of angle in was this is the sort of game that Burnley get back on track with a winner. I'm not quite so sure yet. This is Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Just to get your brief thoughts on this. Any angles in now, or is it a sit and wait job?
Well, I think it's a good appointment to put Darren Fletcher in charge for this match. He's a club legend. You know, he's managed the youth team, and he's going to have a lot of respect for the players. So I think he's going to galvanise them, and I can imagine the team talk being, we are Manchester United, we need to show our way, and try to get that kind of fight in it. But when you look around the dressing room, who are going to buy into that kind of, come on, we'll go out and do a job here? But I think that's quite a good appointment short term. I don't think it's a good appointment long term, but it's a good appointment short term. Surely they've got their eyes on managers. We'll come on to that in a minute. But the facts are the facts. Burnley have no wins in 11, 9 losses and 2 draws. They've lost their last 6 home matches. They're conceding a huge amount of goals. They're currently, off my ratings, the worst team in the Premier League. I know Wolves are statistically the worst team in the Premier League, but they have shown signs of improvement in the last 4 or 5 games. Burnley are going backwards, and Manchester United are minus 148 to win this match, which you would look at it and think, I've got to take it. Burnley do lose against the better teams at home in the Premier League, And when you look at Burnley this season, and look at Manchester United this season, however bad you may feel they are, they're still 6th in the table and have an opportunity to challenge for Champions League spots if they can get the right appointment here. So I looked at it. The reverse fixture was 3-2. I remember the game. It was Man United celebrated as though they won the Premier League title with a late penalty. I wouldn't be rushing to bet Manchester United at minus 148, but I do think they could become a better full price if the market reacts to that, good opportunity for Burnley and they drift a little bit closer, maybe 125, 130. I think that could be a bet. But I just looked at the game. I think it's very, very difficult to assess. But the one positive for Man United in what has been a very, very bleak couple of weeks, couple of draws at Wolves and Leeds, has been the performance of Matthias Cunha, who has been absolutely exceptional. I thought it was brilliant yesterday against Leeds. I thought they should have probably won that match against Leeds. I don't know. I suppose that he had a shot that hit the post. He had another effort that was off the post as well. And I think Cunha at plus 130, anytime goal scorer, could be a lean here. I would expect Manchester United to win it, but minus 148, I would want a little bit more juice in the price to bet it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's going to be interesting to see what the market does, how the market match by match reacts to United, and Fletcher being in charge. Of course, he's got his boys on the bench as well, so they might get a little bit more of a run out. Who knows? Jack, brief thoughts on Burnley, Manchester United, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I went down exactly the same route. I fancy Man United to probably win it, but I can't bet them at that price. Burnley, I think the eye test, the data, and the actual numbers they're putting on the board all stack up to the same thing, that they're out of their depth and we're going to go down. They've conceded the most shots per game, 15.7 across the league so far this season. And we look at who's going to win this game for Manchester United, and Nigel's right. It's going to be Matthias Cunha. He's the guy that's really stepped up. Sesko is their striker, but looks short of confidence. Seen him missing chances, and that Cunha the opposite of that, and he's pulling the strings. He's reveling in the fact that he's the kind of main man there, with the Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo missing as well. So only Haaland's had more shots per game than Cunha as well, and shots on target, and all that data backs it up. So yeah, for me, 3 goals in his last 5 now, and in both his last 2 on the road at plus 130. He's the man. Is obvious would be the one that's going to win it for United. So I think he'd be the route in if you want to get a positive Man United angle.
He could be the inspiration for that game on Wednesday. Look, the big game of the midweek slate is Arsenal versus Liverpool. This is Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Arsenal are minus 162 here, Nigel. Liverpool plus 440. Arsenal into minus 335 to win the title after that win over Bournemouth, and of course City's failure to beat Chelsea. They're in a good position at the minute, and on all known form should beat a Liverpool side. But when you look at that Liverpool price at plus 440, is that a little bit tempting? That they may be playing with nothing to lose now, the champions. I don't really know. It's a difficult one, I think, to get too involved in for me. How do you see it?
Well, I think Arsenal got a positive that they're getting all their players back. I know Gabriel come back and obviously made that mistake for the Bournemouth opening goal, but then he rectified that with a goal at the other end. So that shows the character. Havertz is not far off the bench. He's keeping faith with Gyökeres, which is, to me, I'm not quite sure why he's doing that. He's got Havertz, he's got Jesus as well. But he's got a big squad to deal with, and they're coming back to fitness. Usually at this time of the season, Arsenal were depleted with injuries, but they're not. Rice came back as well, put in an unbelievable performance from injury as well. So things are looking good at this moment in time for Arsenal. It's theirs to lose the title. On the flip side of Man City are losing key players, which we'll come on to again. I think the crazy thing about this match is that Liverpool go into it without any strikers. When you think about it, you look at it at the start of the season, and we said they were going to win the title because their investment and the players they bought were so good, their strength in depth. Salah, Isaac, Ekitike, well, they're all out. They're all out for them. Gakpo's leading the line. I'm not quite sure whether he's I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. I don't think that's his position. And they look weak up top, which when you think they had sort of £250 million worth of talent, to say that starting the new year is crazy, but that's the state of play for Liverpool. I know they're unbeaten in 9 matches. They've drawn 4 of those, but the performances haven't been good by Liverpool. They've been steady. They've been okay. There's been flashes of brilliance. The main positive for them in the last couple of weeks is the emergence of the form of Wirtz that we saw from last season. I think he's been very, very good for Liverpool, and he's getting better and better. If I was looking at this match from a Liverpool perspective, I might look at some props on Wirtz, shots on target, because he might play more in an advanced role. We know that Arsenal at this moment in time are conceding goals, which is unlike them, but they're scoring a lot. 5 of the last 6 matches that Arsenal have been involved in, both teams have scored have been a yes. 26 matches in this run, only 1 loss. So I would think Arsenal will win this. I'm expecting Arsenal to win this. I think minus 162 is a little bit too short because of Liverpool's problems up top. I think Arsenal will win it. And I'm going to go for Arsenal to win, not an official play, but I would go for Arsenal minus 3/4 a goal, 0.75 goals and minus 129. I think Arsenal have got the best. It's crazy to say that, but Arsenal have got the bigger threat from attacking positions than Liverpool when we thought that they were going to be sort of PlayStation football team for them coming into this year. It hasn't worked out. Injuries are causing Liverpool big problems.
It's going to be really interesting when Havertz is fit, that is for sure, because Gyökeres isn't quite working. Havertz wasn't on the bench at the weekend, but was prior to that. I'm sure he will be for this game. It has been a decade since the Gunners were minus money to beat Liverpool at Emirates. Are there good things here? Jack, what do you think? What's your lean on the big game at the Emirates?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're good things. I think they win. But again, you can't play really, in my opinion, at that price either. Liverpool kind of are there for the taking to a certain degree, aren't they? Although they've been, as Nigel said as well, like they've been kind of just getting the results, but still not impressing. And it's been a little bit of a struggle. One of our commenters actually in the on the YouTube channel actually put up a good point the other day about Frimpong. And that might be one if you want a pro-Liverpool angle. I'm not going to claim it as my own. He certainly is the one who put that forward. And we saw that again yesterday with that cross into the box. He's got a great delivery on him. So possibly. Will Ekitike come back? Obviously, they rested him with that hamstring injury. Were they undercooking it? Or is it actually more serious than we thought? We'll have to wait and see. Or maybe they just wanted him to make sure he was fit for this game. But yeah, I think Arsenal win it. And my angle here is just second half goals. It's just been a trend for them over the course of the season. And for Liverpool especially as well. It's minus 103. As I said, I couldn't really find a way in on the mainline market. So over 1.5 second half goals at minus 103. 2 or more second half goals in 6 of 10 at home for Arsenal. And in all of the last 4 across all competitions and venues. At home in all competitions, 7 of the last 8 have seen 2 or more second half goals. Liverpool 2 or more in 8 of 10 on the road, including each of the last 4. It just kind of has a feel of that way about it. That Arsenal have been impressive, but as I say, they are starting to concede a few goals over the last few weeks. So that's my lean on this one.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we saw that, didn't we, the Villa game and indeed the Bournemouth game. It was a game in 2 halves with the Villa game. That is for sure. That could be a profitable angle in from Jack. Let's get to Manchester City against Brighton here because we've got an official play from Jack in this one. This is Wednesday, 2:30. City have been bet. They're minus 278 now. Brighton, $7. And the tie here at plus 430. They bounced back from defeats by winning their next game 4 times this season, but they've also suffered back-to-back defeats on a couple of occasions. One against Brighton as well. I don't know where to put Brighton at the minute because, yes, they beat Burnley, but that was after a long run without winning. They're very, very inconsistent. Do they bloody the nose of City here, Jack? What's the official play?
Yeah, I looked at a couple of different angles here. Man City have been starting strong this season, and I kind of like them to score or there to be over 1.5 first half goals. But on that basis, I've just gone with something that's been a consistent theme for them generally over the season and against Brighton in historical games. That's Man City to be winning at half-time and at full-time as well. So that's minus 106, and I have made it a 1-unit play in the end. They couldn't kill off Chelsea. They had chances, didn't do it. And those defensive injuries has kind of made me pull the trigger a little bit here, actually, because I think they're just going to have to go and attack Brighton. They haven't got the first choice back line. Obviously, we've seen a couple of players get injured in that Chelsea game as well. But let's not be too sorry for Manchester City. The back 2 central defenders are likely to be Ake and Kusanov, who cost around about $100 million between them, 53 for Ake and 45 for Kusanov. So it's not exactly the bare bones that they're scraping around with there, is it? So that draw with Chelsea ended a run of 8 straight home league wins, and 6 of those wins were half-time, full-time results. So that's worked really well in favour of this. City have won 7 of the last 8 Premier League meetings against Brighton. 6 of those come half-time, full-time as well. They've won the first half score count 12-2 actually. They've scored more goals in the first half against Brighton than they have done over in the second half, which is kind of unusual. But they just seem to start really, really fast. We saw it again against Chelsea yesterday, where they couldn't quite hang on to another half-time, full-time, but they were in front at half-time. So that's the route I've gone with. I've not been impressed with Brighton. They did beat Burnley, as I say, but it was only Burnley. We've talked about how bad they are at the moment. A 6-game winless streak prior to that. Only 1 win in 8 on the road as well. And 5 of that 10 defeats on the road Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Everton, Bournemouth, all half-time, full-time results.
Half-time, full-time City is the one-unit play for Jack. Nigel, Jack mentioned it, and you referenced it before as well. Obviously, Gvardiol and Diaz went, and we're not quite sure. I mean, Kusanov and Ake might have cost a lot of money. I think the jury's out with Kusanov. Ake's probably past his prime, and I think there was rumours that he might be leaving the club. I think City might be gettable somehow. I think they'll probably win, but I'd be looking for an Asian line for Brighton. What's your angle here?
Well, you could make a case for it. I mean, they certainly couldn't have Manchester City approaching -$3 for this match. That's one thing you can't do. I mean, even though they were in control of that game in the first half, you felt that Chelsea were going to score at the end. They were sort of hanging on a little bit, and it wasn't a comfortable lead they had. And there was chances towards the end, and they, Donnarumma pulled off a couple of good saves to keep Chelsea out of it as well. And when the Delap come on, made that more physical element, that Man City looked vulnerable at that defensive weakness. Brighton do not offer that sort of massive, huge striker fan. There's more, playing through them. But they're going to give up a lot of possession, which is a positive whenever you play Manchester City. And Brighton have always caused them a few problems before. The big thing here, though, is that the 8 times in the last 10 times these two teams have played, both teams have scored as many. Yes, I think Brighton will score in this match. Definitely think they'll score. But it's very low. It's -157. So them defensive frailties. They were disappointed against Leeds, weren't they? City couldn't get the job done. Couldn't get the job done against Chelsea. I don't know. I think that defensive frailties will be their problem here. I wouldn't be rushing about Brighton on the Asian handicap because Man City have the capability of scoring 3 or 4 whenever Haaland feels like he's in the mood, or whoever else, all the attacking players they have. But I do feel that if you are going to have a bet, both teams to score, yes, would be my angle here. It's only -157. It's not an official play, but it would be in a parlay. If you wanted to have a parlay on both teams to score in the midweek Premier League, that would be in it. But I just think City will win it 2-1, 3-1, but I wouldn't be rushing to bet the Asian handicap with any confidence. But I do think Brighton will cause some problems from a goal threat.
Yeah, fascinating game, I think. That one could be interesting to see how City bounce back, if they do bounce back after that draw against Chelsea last time out. Now, if you have your eyes on a plus money bet at Bet Rivers, Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code Betting Weekly 1218 to get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. That's Betting Weekly 1218. You've got until January the 11th to redeem the code at any US Bet Rivers sportsbook. Good for one bet for eligible players only. The first game in the midweek slate is on Tuesday. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. It's West Ham versus Nottingham Forest. Two teams that are in big, big trouble. And we've got an official play from Jack first up here. West Ham are +215 here. Forest are +128. I mean, I know West Ham are poor, but Forest just a little bit bigger than even money here, Jack. I mean, Nuno, all reports to say he's going to be going soon. Deitch is in deep doo-doo as well. What's the bet?
I've got under 2.5 goals at -117. I tossed a coin between both teams to score no, and I just had that feeling in me that under 2.5 was the better way in this time round to get the 1-1 onside. But there's a whole host of storylines, isn't there? Nuno needs a win against the side that have already sacked him. No manager's been sacked twice in the Premier League before. Could be him this time round, and there's pressure under Sean Dyche as well. So it's a real nervy affair. West Ham fans are absolutely up in arms about what's going on at their football club at the moment. It's not only going to be the weather that's going to be icy. Their attitude towards the board and the management there, I think, is going to be absolutely freezing cold. It's going to be protest, etc., etc. It's going to be a toxic atmosphere, to be fair. And West Ham, so 9 without a win in the league. Forest are struggling as well at the moment. He's in pressure. We know that his owner, the owner of the football club, Nottingham Forest, he's not a patient man. He's not going to give him too much scope, and he's only going to ask Nuno that, who's obviously been sacked by Forest already this season. And I just feel that Nuno versus Sean Dyche just sums up a low-scoring, cagey affair. Neither of these sides will want the ball. They'll both be happy to play deep, sit and look to counter. That obviously can't really work. Someone's going to have it. But I just feel it's going to be a real tentative affair that no one wants to make a mistake and no one wants to concede. And I think that as a result of that, I just can't see the goals coming from it. Under 2.5 at -117. I thought it would be a lot shorter than that. These two managers have met at their previous clubs. It was Everton and Nottingham Forest, once last season, once the season before. Both those games ended 2-0. So cash for both teams to score no and under 2.5 goals, with respective managers getting one win each. So looking at how these sides are setting up and how lacking in confidence they are going forward, I just had to play the under 2.5 goals here in a real tight, nervy, cagey relegation battle with, say, two sides out of confidence and really struggling.
I mean, it looks a value play, just a shade under evens to me, Nigel. I mean, reports that Nuno's going to go imminently by the time this comes out. Who knows? Or maybe he's just got this game against his former club. It might have been a bit different up at the City Ground, but this is a game fraught with dangers for both coaches. What about bettors?
Well, he did one of his former clubs a favour of his tactics and his team performance in his last match against Wolves. So I think that Forest fans will be hoping for a repeat of that. That was the worst performance I've seen from a Premier League side for years. I've seen a couple of West Ham performances last season which were awful. Someone played Crystal Palace at home, they didn't have a shot on target. They did no shot on target against Wolves. The first team to keep Wolves, not score against Wolves this season, and we're going down in history as one of the worst teams ever to grace the Premier League. Well, West Ham aren't that far away at this moment in time. It's just whether you think that. I mean, could you bet West Ham at plus 215? No. Could you bet Forest at plus 128? No.
Even more.
So
no chance.
yeah, you really can't have a case on the money line. I agree with Jack. I think under 2.5 goals is the only way to go.
Smart.
You usually expect the home side to get behind the team when they're in this kind of fight and at the bottom of the table. Can you imagine Leeds needing a point? What the crowd would be like there, or Burnley if they needed the points? It would be that would give them so much confidence. This West Ham side, I thought they had a better chance to be on the road, but then they've gone to Wolves and got smashed 3-0. It's awful. It's absolutely awful there. They've got bad players, bad signings, bad recruitment. Everything that's wrong at a football club is wrong at West Ham at the moment. And both of these managers are under huge pressure. And you know what? The man who's just been sacked from Manchester United, Amorim, he'd look for a new job, and he would fit into that. Amorim isn't a Man United manager, but in sort of mid-table, low-level Premier League side, he could walk into one of these jobs pretty comfortably, I'd have thought. And for someone like the Forest owner, I think he'd quite fancy something like that. So that adds a bit of more pressure here. Where do we go? Money line, no idea. Impossible to call. You've got to bet under 2.5. Forest, 4 straight losses. On the road, 13 matches this season, lost 10 of them, and you've got a West Ham side with no winning 9. Absolutely awful on the back of the worst performance that we've seen. And I've got a feeling, the common theme over the last few days is that we've seen managers want to leave, and they are orchestrating their own move and being forced out and getting paid off by the football clubs. And I think Nuno's doing pretty much the same thing. If he wins his game 2-0 and he doesn't want to fancy, I can see him saying something against the board in the press conference and being fired. They want out. They all want out at the moment, and they don't fancy the pressure. And no one's under more pressure at this moment in time than Nuno at West Ham.
Oliver Glasner isn't under pressure as such, but Crystal Palace are on a shocking run at the moment. They take on Villa Wednesday 2:30. Eastern. They're without a win in 7. They're plus 200. Villa are plus 132. They have been bet, Villa. And Nigel and Jack have both pulled the betting boots on for this one. I mean, Nigel, is the auto fade still on with Palace, or is this more about Villa after their bounce-back win at the weekend, combination of two? What are we doing here?
Well, I haven't got many things right on the Premier League show this season, as you can see by my P&L, but the one thing I do feel...
hang on, recently.
I don't know, I'd have had a win a week last week, win a week before, but only narrow. But I mean, we're judged on the season. But the one thing I do think I called right was the downfall of Palace pretty quickly before anyone else got onto that. And I think this is going to continue even more. And there's a couple of reasons why I think it's going to continue even more. I mean, they've lost 3 more players at the weekend. They've currently got 11 players out. They lost Klein, Ekitike, and Lerma. They're all doubts for this match from the weekend. And that adds to all the players that they've got missing at the moment. And their squad, the oldest player on the bench, I mean, the average age player on the bench was about 18 at the weekend. So you're going to have 17, 18-year-old kids making their debuts potentially in this match. If we get any other injuries, they are in serious trouble. And now we've got this Oliver Glasner, who's going to be linked with the Man United job. Over here, he's right up there with one of the leading contenders to get the job. If you asked any Manchester United football fan now who would they want, he would be way, way high under this. I think he'd be the most popular decision.
Bayern wanted him, didn't they?
Yeah, he plays a system that's hard to break down. I think he can walk into that Man United team, revitalise the system, make the fullbacks work hard and change it around. He is the man they will want. And with that added pressure at this time of the season And with Palace having a lot of players who are out of contract who want to leave as well, the manager uncertainty can only spell big, big trouble. That will be the biggest club who'll be sitting there this morning with that Man United news and thinking, is all we need is Crystal Palace. Now, he wants money. He needs money. He spent the record signing for Crystal Palace was Brennan Johnson. He went to 30-odd million quid. But he needs 4 more Brennan Johnsons in key positions if he wants to stay that job. He's got the opportunity to go and manage one of the biggest clubs in the world, I believe. And I think this is the worst time for Crystal Palace. They're in deep trouble. On a positive thing for Crystal Palace, they're playing Aston Villa side that they always beat. They went there this season and won 3-0. They played them 4 times last season, including the FA Cup semi-final, battered them. But this is a very, very different Crystal Palace side to what they are there. The fullbacks are out. Richards is out. Gaya's out of contract. The manager's out of contract at the end of the season. They can get him now. All 11 players injured. The players who've come in, who are senior level players, who've come in to replace their big Munoz, I keep saying is the biggest loss for them. And I've faded Crystal Palace for many, many, many matches now, and it's been a profitable thing in the last 3 or 4. And I think Villa at plus 132 here, who've had 12 wins from 13. Their only loss has been at the champions, the league leaders, the favourites to win the Premier League title, the minus $3 favourites to win the Premier League title, where they outplayed them for the first half. I think plus 132 is a very, very decent price about this Crystal Palace side. The only reason it is that price is because of that head-to-head record, and everyone goes, for Palace always beat Villa. This is a very, very different night and a very different set of circumstances. And Villa, for me, is a 1.5 unit pick on the money line at plus 132.
We rode away from Villa on the money line at the weekend, Jack, because of the price, and then we were fairly alarmed when we saw the drift to even money just on kickoff. And then 5 minutes into the game, even though it was 0-0, they were about minus 160, I think. I don't know what it was. But anyway, are we on the Villa train here again?
Yeah, another unit for me here. Well, I thought plus 132. It was a little bit bigger. As I say, it's a bit of money for them, but not a massive move. Plus 132, I think, is still loads of juice in that price. That's a really good price for me. For all the reasons Nigel's outlined, I don't need to go into any more detail than that, really. Again, the other alarming thing for Palace is 2 more goals conceded from set pieces. They're just hemorrhaging goals from that avenue. And if Villa aren't good enough in open play, then they've got the delivery that they can cause threats from there. So keep an eye on that one, as we always say, if you want. But I don't think you need to be too flashy here. Keep it simple. Aston Villa on the money line. They've been so good. That response to the Arsenal defeat was superb against Forest. They looked strong. They looked fresh. They looked physical. All the things that are going to cause Palace lots of heartache in this one. Those players coming back made an impact. And yeah, they've got good strength in depth and the ability to rotate players where they need to, as I said. And that extra strength, that extra freshness will prove the difference here. At plus 132 is a great price.
Be interesting to see what the market does with Villa. They were against them at the weekend. I suspect that it might be shorter come kick-off. That game is a Wednesday game at 2:30 Eastern, as is Fulham against Chelsea. Who is going to be in charge of Chelsea, do we think, here, Nigel? Liam Rossini was seen heading to London. It's sort of his to turn down, and he might not have the opportunity to turn it down because obviously Blueco employment Strasbourg, he's probably going to get the job. Is he going to be in the dugout for this one? They're plus 112 against the Fulham side. They're on a decent run of form at the minute. I don't think he's going to be straight. Even if Maresca was still in charge, I don't think this would be straightforward for Chelsea at just over evens. What do we think here?
Well, the biggest surprise for me with that news about Rosenior at the airport with the picture that emerged, someone recognised him. I wouldn't know who he was. I mean, that's the biggest surprise for me. I've got no idea who the bloke was. I don't think half of them. He could walk down the King's Road at Chelsea, no one know who he was, and he's going to be their next manager. It's amazing. I did make a bit of a rick. I said he'd never played in the Premier League, and I know you picked me up on that. A lot of people on the comments picked me up. I meant managing the Premier League. I didn't. I got that wrong. But anyway, I think this is a difficult one. Obviously it's a local derby. There's not much geographically between the two of them. And there is going to be a new man in charge. Fair play to the under-21 guy, though, who went in charge.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, what things say in your CV when you're managing the Whiteleaf under-15s in about 3 weeks' time that you manage against Pep Guardiola. I mean, that's incredible. That is like tell your mates down the pub. You won't believe. Can you imagine him in like 25 years when he's running the pub football team?
Yeah. And what I did, I put Enzo up front. What I did, lads, do you remember?
They're having a pint after the game, and he's just won like the Surrey Qatari Intermediate Cup with his club team. Incredible scenes. But anyway, go back to this match. I think there's goals in it. That's what I think. I think 6 of the last 7 matches for Fulham, I think both teams to score. Yes, we know that they always score at home. They got one of the best both teams to score. Yes, sides in the Premier League. If you back them, they're pretty much good for a goal every time they play. Their performances have been really good. They've only lost once in 6. They played some good teams, worldly goals as well. The only loss was against Man City, and they put 4 past them. So I think they've fancied the chances of getting the goal here. From an attacking point of view, they look good. Wilson looks good. Jimenez looks good. They're a very good side when they're at it. They seem to be at it at the moment. And there's going to be pressure on Chelsea to deliver. But I thought Chelsea played really well second half yesterday. They take that kind of mood into it. Palmer played all right, should have scored. Enzo was well, and I thought Delap played well when he came on for the first time. I thought his physicality caused Man City problems. So both teams to score, yes, from me. It's only minus 165, and I did say earlier on, if you want to put it in a parlay this week on both teams to score, maybe put them in the Man City Brighton as a parlay to boost it up to plus money. But I fancy goals here.
Great Whiteleaf geography reference there from Nigel. He knows his stuff, don't
He actually was the manager at Whiteleaf. You know that? He was the manager of Whiteleaf. I played against Whiteleaf. That's the sort of standard they were. They were a team in my league, Whiteleaf.
Oh dear. West London derby. Jack, what do you like or dislike in this? What you got?
No, it's the same angle, really. I've gone over 2.5 goals at minus 125, so you could quite easily put both those teams together because I think both teams will score in it, and I think there will be over 2.5 goals. So you can put that together, both these leans together to come up with a better price. But for all those statistics, really, to be fair, there's going to be that uncertainty at Chelsea, and Fulham are in the best form of the season, and they're looking upwardly mobile, and obviously showed their resilience with that great strike from Harrison Reed. Against Liverpool when they looked like they had been done at the death, they went and come back and scored an absolute scorcher, brilliant goal. And so Robinson, I've mentioned him before, still looks really strong down that left hand side for Fulham. Might exploit the space in behind that right back Gusto, who likes to bomb on. So keep an eye on him.
Let's get to Brentford against Sunderland, shall we? This is another Wednesday game. Nigel, 2:30 Eastern. Brentford are minus 122 here. Sunderland are plus 350. The tie plus 260. 7th and 8th in the table. Separated only by goal difference. At the start of the season, 2nd and 4th favourites to be the first clubs to sack their manager. I mean, they've both done brilliantly. Brentford are excellent at home. Can they keep their good run going against a Sunderland side that we all thought were just going to be homers, but now suddenly they're picking up good points on the road as well? How do we tackle this?
I don't know how they're picking the points up, though. That's the thing. I mean, Tottenham battered them in the first half. Should have been 2 or 3 up. They were very fortunate against Leeds, currently outplayed on the XG, and they're just digging in deep and working hard as a unit. It's got to take its toll. I mean, last 4 matches, all draws, all unders. 3 matches they've played undefeated since their players, which we very heavily documented how many times they've gone to the AFCON. But they just keep grinding out results. I don't know whether they can keep grinding out results here, though. I mean, I just think this is a tough one. I mean, Brentford come out the traps fast. You got to remember, I strongly oppose them at the weekend against Everton, and it was also their road record. I'm very confident when they play at home, and I was really, Everton were awful, but take nothing away from Brentford. They're exceptional. Thiago got a hat-trick. I took him out of my fantasy league this week. I played Steve Wiss in the fantasy league, and we ended up drawing, and Thiago would have put me top. But he's top of the league, and I'm second. It was a top of the table clash, and my selection let me down. Anyway.
Hang on, how many people in the league?
6. You 2 are in it.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine that.
But
I'm in the Champions League places, the European places, and I'm last. Anyway, go on.
Exactly. But I looked at this, and I thought, well, Brentford on the money line have got to be the bet, but they're minus 122. Sunderland plus 350, minus 122. I thought, they probably will win it, but minus 122. And then when you look at the stats, I mean, the most obvious player is Thiago to score at any time. I mean, he's scored on the back of a hat-trick. He's the second top goal scorer in the Premier League behind Haaland. Arguably, he's playing, I wouldn't say they're one of the weakest teams in the Premier League, but from a betting perspective, there's not many matches where Brentford are going to be minus 122. So from a betting perspective, this is probably one of the weakest games they have, the most likely ones they're going to win from. I'm not being disrespectful to Sunderland fans, but from a betting perspective, it is. And you've got to look at their home record. Look at his home record. He's played 10 matches at home this season for Brentford, and he scored 7 goals in those 10 matches. So when you look at that, I thought Thiago at evens to score any time compared to Brentford at minus 122 on the money line. I thought the best value was with Thiago. So Two things. He's returning to my fantasy team this weekend, so watch out, you boys. I think I'm up against you, Mr. Roebuck, so watch out.
Really?
You're giving you team selection away. Shouldn't be telling my team selection. And I'm going to go. I'm going to go for him as my official play. 1 unit. Thiago score any time it evens, rather than the -122 on Brentford on the money line.
Sunderland, it's their 5th game in the capital. Lost only to Fulham. They won at Chelsea, and as Nigel pointed out, they did draw at Spurs, although they rode their luck a little bit here. I mean, you know, we talked about the AFCON, as Nigel pointed out, and I just thought that they would really struggle. But they are digging in, Jack. Can they dig in enough to get anything at Brentford, or are you on the home train at the G-Tech?
Yeah, I got a fancy Brentford at home. I kind of slightly changed it when I sent the over to you yesterday. I went -122 for the home win, but looking into the details, I'd actually put up -1 Asian handicap at +150. So I think if they win, they can win this by 2 or more goals. Yeah. Four of their 6 home wins this season have come with a 2 or more goal margin. And again, I agree with Nigel. I think that Sunderland have got to have a little bit of a slip at some point in time with the work rate and the effort that they put in with the limited ability to rotate that squad. It's been sensational what they've done, not taken away from them. But when they go to Brentford, who are so strong at home, with only Arsenal, Man City and Villa with a better home record than them, I think it might just be a step too far. And Brentford's home record against newly promoted sides since they've come into the Premier League has been exceptional. That tie with Leeds this season was a rare slip-up against newly promoted sides. They've already beaten Burnley this term, but they've won against all 3 newly promoted sides last season. And their record against the newly promoted sides since they've been in the Premier League, won 11, tied 1, lost 1 at home. That's a sensational record, and they can take advantage and beat this Sunderland side that I think might just have a little off day. So yeah, I'll go and change it to a more aggressive play. -1 Asian handicap at +150. It is only a lean.
Bournemouth against Spurs. Just a couple of quick leans from the boys in this one. Nigel, Bournemouth are +107, but they haven't won any of their last 11 games. This is more to do with Spurs, but Spurs are good away from home, as we know. Only Arsenal have got more points than Tottenham on their travel, so I don't know what to do with this one. I'm steering clear. Have you got anything for us?
I think it's difficult. No wins in 11, as you said, but they haven't been playing like a team in 15th. Good performance against Arsenal, good performance against Chelsea. Scored 4 goals in those 2 matches and only picked up 1 point. If you're scoring 4 goals against Arsenal or Chelsea, you've got a chance. Bournemouth got lots of goals in them. Tottenham been as boring as anything at the moment. Last 3 Tottenham matches under 2.5 goals. Leaning towards the match, I think, Thomas Frank is another manager that will manage under pressure. Another massive club, probably looking for a new manager shortly. If they don't win here, he's big trouble. Leaning towards Bournemouth at +107, but nothing major on the match.
Jack, any lean from you in this one?
Yeah, tough. I lent on under 2.5 goals in it as well. +115. I think at plus money, that was the deciding factor for me. 38 goals conceded for Bournemouth. I know there's been a bit more recently, but only 9 of those have come on home soil, and they're up against the powder puff Spurs side that just can't get it going in any way, shape or form. If they create a chance, they miss it generally. And as I said, as Nigel pointed out again, their fans are laboured and boring. Pressures on Thomas Frank. So I'll go and lean at unders because it's a plus money play.
Yeah, I looked at Bournemouth at the weekend because they'd only conceded 6 at home prior to the Arsenal game. Bet unders, that went astray for me. So it was a painful one, even though Arsenal did win. Newcastle Leeds, we have got another significant investment from Mr. Seeley in this one. Newcastle -155, Leeds are +430. This is Wednesday, 3:15 Eastern. As predicted by both Nigel and Jack, Newcastle easy winners over Paris last time out. Unders betters with a massive shout out for Willock for missing that open goal late on, and overs better was absolutely cursing him. Leeds, though, Nigel, still unbeaten since switching to 3-5-2, but you just get the sense maybe they're running on fumes a little bit and teams are beginning to work them out. Their expected goals output in their last couple has dipped significantly, including, as you mentioned, in that game against Manchester United at the weekend. So, are Newcastle going to inflict Leeds' first defeat in, 6 games, 6.5 all total? Is it 7.5 all total with this system? 7.5 all total with this system, Nigel.
Yeah, 5 draws from those 7 matches, though, and most of all their wins have come at home. There are 3 road draws in that period, and on this season for Leeds matches, 11 matches and only 1 road win. So you can see where I'm coming from. All their good stuff comes from Ellen Road with that crowd behind them, and on the road they're not to be trusted. Totally flip for Newcastle. Everything they do good and positive is at St James's Park. Everything they do negative is on the road. Newcastle just scoring so many goals. The last 11 matches, 2 or more goals scored. It was the reason I gave this same bet that I'm going to give here now against the Crystal Palace match of the weekend because they're goal threat. I don't think Leeds offer the same goal threat away from Ellen Road. If you look at them 13 times out of 16 matches this season, Newcastle scored 2 or more goals. A win here could take them up to 5th in the Premier League to show you how tightly congested it is there. I expect them to win the 2 or 3 games now and go back into the position they should be. They're a good side from attacking point of view. Worcester now brings in a different side of dimension to it. Anthony Gordon playing well, goals from defenders as well, and you've got the option of Walter Marder as well to mix it up as well. I like what I'm seeing from Newcastle at the moment. I'm not convinced by Leeds on the road. I'm going to go for Newcastle to win this. They're minus 152 on the money line, but I'm going for them minus 0.75, which is minus 121. We win if they win the match. We win more if they win by 1 or more goals, and they've scored 2 goals at least in 13 or 16 matches. 2 goals here again. We cash. I can't see Leeds scoring 2 goals at St James's Park.
Yeah, it was a smart play from the boys at the weekend. Nigel goes again. Jack, are you pressing up?
I've gone a slightly different route here. Again, I fancy Newcastle to win. I just had a price that really caught my eye. It's been hammered, unfortunately, overnight, hence why we don't tend to put these up too much. But it's the talisman, Bruno Guimaraes, to score was plus 450, now plus 240, which is probably more of a reasonable price. That plus 450 was huge, but plus 240, I think, when you look and break down the details, it's still a decent price for a man who's had the most shots on target of any Newcastle player so far this season, has got the joint highest amount of goals with 7. It's a decent return for him. It's not like a 2 or 3 goal return from midfielder here. 6 of those goals have come on home soil, and 5 in his last 7 at St James's Park. He loves playing in front of that home crowd. They love him, and you can really see how much it means to him every time he sets foot on the pitch, and has generally been performing exceptionally well and scoring goals. So plus 240, I'll still have that as my lean.
Just a lean in the Newcastle Leeds game. Bruno Guimaraes, the price has gone, but if you just want a little flutter on one of the props, that is the way potentially to go. One more game to look at is Everton against Wolves. Last on the show here. Usually means that Nigel's got to play in it, but he hasn't. We'll get Nigel's thoughts in a second. We'll let Nigel have the last word. Jack, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I want to side with Wolves. I know we all bet them when they got beat off Brentford, but we just went a little early. It was a bit of a false start because since then you backed them on the Asian line or you backed them just to win. Obviously at the weekend you've got your cash. I think we were on the right train there. It just been left in the station for a game, unfortunately. And Everton, of course, a bit of a hiccup at the Hill. Dickey again, 4 defeats in their last 6. So what are we doing here for Jack? I'll give you the lean on this one first.
I just found this impossible to call. The prices, I think, are just right, and I can't have any real faith in either of these sides at the moment. I did think Everton would get that result at the weekend. They didn't. They were poor, got blasted off the park by Brentford. My lean is Wolves plus 0.75. I'm not sure if it's unders. I'm not sure if it's overs. Can I trust Wolves, who have not done anything on the road this season, just because they've now beaten that poor West Ham side? Everton, David Moyes, you know what they're like. I mentioned this the other week. Sometimes when they've had a bad result, David Moyes just galvanises them. He said that we were kind of expecting that to a certain degree with the players that we had out and so on and so forth, and they were poor. He then finds a way of getting a scruffy 1 or 2-0 win. Can see that. But I've just gone with Wolves because of the value, I think, is slightly on their favour. I wouldn't fancy Everton at that money. I haven't seen what they've been putting up, the last couple of games. So Wolves plus 0.75 at minus 120 is certainly my weakest bet of the slate. And it's definitely the last game to cover. So over to you, Nigel. What you got?
Not much.
No,
not much. The only one thing I would say is that David Moyes will be absolutely and angry with the way they defended in that match against Brentford, and conceding 4 goals at home. You would expect a much more defensively strong performance. And I always say when teams have an embarrassing one like that, bounce back with the under 2.5 goals. Prior to that match against Brentford, 5 of the 6 matches before that was all both teams to score no. I think this might go back to a sort of a boring match. I think Everton will be a lot better defending. I know he's got key players out, which limits his attacking options. So I went for both teams to score no at minus 104. The reverse feature was 3-2, which totally throws it on his head. But Wolves did play Everton in the cup earlier in the season, and Everton won 2-0. So, and also Wolves' road record is terrible. I know they've improvements, but they've only scored 3 goals and they've only picked up 2 draws. So both teams to score no, minus 104. If this match was played 3 weeks ago, it would be minus 225 Everton.
Easy. I mean, this is it, man. But you're right. David Moyes will get them right for this. He will not be conceding 4 at home, not by any stretch of imagination. But I think there might be a little bit of public money for Wolves simply because there's a little bit of a sort of feel-good, almost sort of, can play with a bit of freedom situation going on with Rob Edwards. So we shall see. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. That is your lot for this one. We'll keep everyone up to date with our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show Matchday 21. Get your picks and comments in on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, we've got our live show every single midweek day at 11 a.m. Follow us at Because We Win. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you've not already. We're going to be back a week on Thursday for more Premier League previews. That's because it is FA Cup third round weekend this weekend. I presume, Nigel, we've got bits and pieces via social media for FA Cup previews, sort of Friday live show.
I'm sure we will have. Our guru, the Hitman, will be in touch with everybody. I'm sure there'll be videos going up.
Wonderful. That's your lot from all of us for today. Have a good midweek betting Premier League slate, and we will be back a week on Thursday.